What up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, and I'm driving. Don't worry, I'm not looking at the screen while I'm driving. Just got the camera on. The screen is on, but why the hell would I look at it? Got the real world in front of me. Yeah, trying out a little experimental blogging. Got to drive to Hoboken. Have to Hoboken to get into the city, finish up a client's project. So, thought I'd use it to read a little vlog podcast type thing. Mark Rosewater, the Magic developer, does his drive to work. So, why not do a first-person drive to work? I don't develop Magic cards. I develop electronics prototypes. We both have cool jobs. I'm not going to draw a comparison there. All right. So what are we talking about today? Why not Google Glass? So I bought this thing yesterday, November 9th. I think I was one of the first people to get this, through the invites program. Which it's pretty cool. I got it yesterday, and I've been using it pretty much non-stop, or wearing it non-stop. It's not really as useful as I thought when I first got it, or when I was fantasizing about it, I guess. It doesn't really do a lot. It's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say that. You get this timeline thing. It's kind of like the equivalent of apps. It's basically structured notifications, and not all apps can say notifications. It's only registered My Glass apps that can do it. There are third-party ones, but they have this really restrictive API limit that has really crimped down the number of them that exist. Which it's kind of a shame. You get a choice of like 7 voice commands that you can fire at any time. You can record a video, take a picture, get directions, search Google, and send a text or a call. The last 2 sound really cool until you realize that you can only use the voice. You can only use it for 10 people that you hand select on your phone or on the web. So not even that's not even that useful. If I can't say okay Glass, send a call to Domino's Pizza, unless I'd already decided Domino's Pizza was going to be one of the 10 people I could access that with. It's a really weird restriction. Maybe it's to keep the voice command real time or something. I don't know. The Google search is very interesting. It tries as hard as it can it seems to try as hard as it can to give you facts. The one that they love is how tall is the Eiffel Tower. My answer is who gives a flying. I'm not going to swear on this. My answer is who the hell cares. Google actually give it to you. Those facts are really inconsistent. It's one of those kind of anti-features, right? Because, suppose I am asking a totally legitimate question, what is the number of the 74 series octal transceiver? Right? If I freeze that in a Google search, right, I say, okay, Glass, what is the 74 series octal bus transceiver? Google, of course, not have that available. I know that I've already tried it. But then it'll try to search, and it'll give me a crappy search because now it's loaded up with all the syntactic cruft that went into saying this, human legible sentence. So, I don't know. When it works, it's really cool. I mean, there's no bones about it. If you're trying to do something simple like a unit conversion, or you want to find out something like the weather, it works really well. It's really easy to do. The OK Glass kind of command phrase is good for the people around you because it lets them know that you're using the thing. There's so many places I could fork off on this. It's it's hard to avoid rambling. You'll notice how wide the field of view on this is. It's really impressive. The field of view is enormous. The glass itself only I think it's like 17 degrees FOV, but the camera is massive. I mean, it's got to be approaching 120. You know, it's like about it's probably in the neighborhood of 120 to 140 because that's a peripheral vision of, or I'm sorry, that's the field of view between periphery for a human. They're really pushing this human element thing with the Google Glass. Yeah, it's a really impressive piece of hardware in many respects. It's the processing speed isn't fantastic. It doesn't have a lot of memory, but you know, it's not really designed for multitasking. The OS is very stripped down. You know, it's got to be being pushed to its limit to do real-time, voice parsing and stuff. But it actually does it really well. It's very good about hopping between your phone's internet and nearby Wi-Fi networks to keep its connection alive, which is good because it's kind of like tied to Google servers to parse most of its commands. The thing doesn't really do a lot when it's offline. But yeah, enough going into the minutia. Let me do here for drive to work, for my drive to work. Yeah, those of you with a Google Glass who were smartasses enough to ask it, okay, Glass, which day of the week was November 9th? We'll find out that, yes, I'm working on a Sunday. That's, part of the fun when you have clients doing time-sensitive installations and stuff. Yeah, wow, this camera's actually clear enough that you guys can see my rearview mirror. I've got a bunch of traffic behind me. Is this not the sharpest on-ramp turn you've ever seen? Like, stability control goes on in my car and I take that sometimes. Yeah, I'm gonna drive to Hoboken. The path is down from WTC. I should actually run that through Google Glass and find out why. Here's a fun fact. You can't use like the OK Glass and run searches and stuff when you're using kind of a full screen app. Full screen app here, I mean like directions or video. Like right now, it's completely ignoring voice commands. I have no way of interacting with the thing whatsoever except by tapping on the side. So like it's kind of it's understandable with video because like if I start saying like OK Glass, show me news stories related to the World Trade Center path, it's gonna get kind of funky because that'll show up my video. But when you're getting directions, especially walking directions, it sucks. You have this awesome like entertaining device that can give you like so much. It can help you salvage some of that time you would otherwise waste, moving your meat space body. And you can't use it because like it only responds to like meta commands that let you stop navigation. It's really annoying. I guess now I'm thinking about it, I wouldn't be able to record a video and get directions at the same time. So all you Russian wearable technology enthusiasts out there who want to substitute your dash cam and your GPS, currently this ain't your device. Yeah, so I think it's time for a little wearable technology rant. Why not? So for a long time I've held that the ideal wearable kind of, there are three ways you can approach a wearable. I'm gonna backtrack a little. I'm gonna back into it, I mean. There are three ways you can approach building a wearable. If one of my clients went to me and said, build me a wearable, there are a few ways you can go about doing it. I like to categorize these into three kind of archetypes. You have the, Christ. I want someone to crash so I can like send this footage to the insurance company. Although that might sting me because that means I'm wearing glass while I'm driving. Anyways, you have three ways of doing it. You have the dashboard, you have the app, and you have the wearable computer. These are, you can kind of like view them as different ways, different philosophies almost, for how one interacts with the wearable. The dashboard is just like this dashboard right here. It's information that's in front of you at all times, so you can just glance at it. Glass, you could say that in Glass, the Directions app is, you could say the Directions app is sort of like this. It behaves like it when it's active. The distinction between a dashboard and the others is that the dashboard is always on. It doesn't matter, whether or not you're actually interacting with the device, the dashboard is always on. Like, imagine how how dangerous it would be if my car's dashboard turned on and off as I was driving. It's the important part of the dashboard. The thing that gives it its power is that it's always there. It's always sitting there. And all I have to do is glance down. Your subconscious interacts very well with dashboards because humans are very good at remembering where things are. It dates back to our ancestors used to navigate using the stars. You remember where the positions of stars are, and you can maintain your bearing on stars, even when you're not available. It's why checking your watch is so intuitive, because it's always in the same place. Google Glass doesn't have a dashboard. Its native state, the one that it attempts to default to. Oh, someone tailgating me. I better pull over. The state it defaults to, as often as it can, is standby. It attempts to turn the screen off. I don't really like this. I understand it's a battery-saving thing, but by losing out on the dashboard, you sort of don't have a reason to keep the wearable on at all times. We'll get into apps in a sec, but the dashboard serves a critical purpose for a wearable because it gives you a reason to keep it on all the time. If the thing turns off, you start to question, like, why am I even wearing this thing? I mean, it's not giving me anything half the time. Some things that it could show, some things that make great items to put on a dashboard are the amount of money in your account, your GPS location, your calendar, a to-do list, kind of like your vitals, the things that help you navigate and be productive and that you can integrate with subconsciously. You can't have things like like RSS feeds or Reddit or something, or Twitter. It would just be too distracting. Likewise, you can't have something that requires any interactivity at all because the whole point of a dashboard is that it's always there. You glance at it and it kind of becomes part of your horizon. So let's get on to the second archetype. Second archetype is apps. It's exactly what you know from working with a phone. An app is a self-contained program that you kind of enter the app's UX by declaring your intention. On a phone, this means finding the app's icon and tapping it. On Google Glass, it means saying "OK Glass" something. The apps are kind of like the bread and butter functionality because they're kind of like the library of tools that you have to work with. Your apps are kind of the ways that your device can modify itself to give you new things. If I have an app that gives me directions, I now have perfect sense of direction. If I have an app that's a compass, I can now always find north. If I have an app that takes a picture, I can now take pictures. Apps are of crucial importance to a wearable because they provide the core of the functionality. The apps are the reason why you will interact with it. If it's just a dashboard, it's not a very robust set of functionality. The functionality would have to be really critical to your job, like the dashboard in the car, for instance, to compensate for the lack of interactivity. However, apps are not enough to carry a wearable in and of themselves. Mostly because of the first thing I described, which is that if it's not showing you something all the time, it doesn't really have a purpose most of the time. There's another reason why apps can't carry a wearable, and that is that apps are clunky and they don't scale. You have to invoke an app. You have to declare your purpose. And getting input onto a wearable is not as easy as it sounds. Voice commands are nice if, for instance, I'm sitting in my car or at my desk, but if I'm in a conversation with someone, it's not going to happen. Likewise, if it's not appropriate, like if I'm in a movie, right, suddenly, guess what? I can't use any of my apps. The Google Glass's fallback is a trackpad on the side. But even that, for a wearable, you have to have a hand-free. It requires feedback because you have to look at it and make sure that you're on the right. Make sure that you're highlighting the right thing. And on top of that, apps don't scale. The more apps you install in a wearable, the harder it becomes to use the wearable. The slower it gets, the more ambiguous your commands are, the more you have to paw through to navigate by hand. So apps are of crucial importance, but they're not enough to carry a wearable. The third one is the wearable computer. The wearable computer is the one that's going to cause, the one that's probably going to get sidelined. It's probably going to get sidelined in the glass wars that Google has sparked. The wearable computer is exactly what it sounds like. It's a computer that you strap to your face. I'm talking a computer with a traditional window-based user interface that runs the majority of apps. Pick one of the big three: Windows, Linux, Mac. Nothing else matters. The important part is this lets you run apps. This lets you run programs. Where the wearable computer is very important in subtle ways. The first subtle way is that it massively expands what your wearable can do. Sometimes you just can't wait until someone codes in a certain functionality for your wearable. You just need it, particularly like right now. Sometimes someone sends you a CAD file, and you need to open that. You need to view that CAD file and have it open while you're doing something else. You can't encode something like that in 45 seconds. Like, you should just be able to download a file. It's important because it makes your wearable do as much as you can. Your wearable should be able to match your functionality. Your wearable should never be limited by what you can do, and you should never be limited by what your wearable can do. It should always be the greatest. Whichever is greater, the maximum should rule. The other thing that's important about it is that it provides an extra layer of functionality. When times get really tough, you won't get frustrated with your wearable. In a pinch, you can kind of drop down into a lower level of abstraction and kind of do things the hard way. Yes, it means you'll have to connect a keyboard and a mouse and all that. It means that you'll be working with a PC in squinto vision, but if you need that computer right there and you cannot set up a laptop or it's out of battery or something, it is a critical functionality. It's going to be so frustrating when your phone is out of power and your computer's out of power and all you need to do is respond to an email, but they haven't programmed that functionality into glass, so now you have this fully capable computer. Shut up, radar detector, sitting on your fucking face, and it can't do it. The third thing, this is another part that's really important. By being able to invoke a wearable computer mode, you can drop down into an even lower level of abstraction and do run meta functionality on the wearable apps. It's very hard to, for instance, do set complicated settings using a wearable. Google's got a number of kind of experimental settings, kind of like experimental setting UX in the Glass OS. But none of them could do something really complicated like, setting a pref pane or connecting with a Bluetooth device or navigating to, or, setting an IP proxy or a VPN or something. And they shouldn't. You should never attempt to do such intricate functionality with the limited UX of a wearable. But you still need to be able to do it. Again, in a pinch or even in general, like, you shouldn't have to rely on another device. The wearable computer lets you have this low-level meta access. Just the same way as if you have a splinter in your hand that's embedded in there, you can, cut it out. It's crude, but in a pinch, it works. You should be able to, if needed, cut open your wearable and directly play around with its guts. I bet this bridge is gonna look fantastic in the video, and I probably just spoiled it right there. Got a little construction over here. Hopefully it doesn't affect us. Yeah, it's very easy to get distracted with this thing. Distracted from a podcast, not distracted from driving. Shut up. This is actually a really good way to record podcasts while you're driving, because I think the microphone's good. The camera is great. Anyways, wearable technology, shut up! The wearable computer mode also does one other thing. I forget the guy's name. The Russian dude who runs Loper OS summed this up, which is that if you're a professional, it is not appropriate to use cute tools. Google, any wearable UX is going to be a little precious. It's going to be cute. It's going to be stripped down. It's going to be limited. It's going to give you a core set of functionality with the emphasis on ease of use and being able to drop directly into it. But sometimes you just need to have a powerful tool that's hard to use, requires practice and finesse, and rewards you from doing so. Thad Starner's machine is a wearable computer. Let me get into this. Let me get into some examples of wearable technology that fit these archetypes. Again, just a refresher, archetypes are dashboard, always visible, no interaction. Apps, needs invocation, runs in a wearable UX, and wearable computer, which is a non-wearable UX that you just happen to have attached to your face. So here are examples of these three. First off, dashboard. Easiest, what I got this from is a dashboard. In a way, a watch is also a dashboard. In a sense, it's not such a good one because it's on your wrist. You have to invoke it. Industrial wearables are almost all dashboards. For instance, UPS employees have a wrist-mounted wearable that tracks their stats. For instance, how fast their bag, how fast they're moving, how fast they're scanning. It lets them find a certain package in a warehouse just by keying it. It tells them as they lift a package where to place it. And it's always in the same place. It integrates in their workflow. They don't need to think about using it. An app, a wearable that uses apps, Google Glass is an app-based wearable. It does nothing. It has almost no functionality until you invoke it. It has notifications. Notifications are a gray area. I'll get to that later. It doesn't really do anything until you invoke that functionality. Then you have a wearable computer. Thad Starner's wearable is a wearable computer. It's literally a Linux-based computer that is attached to his face. He interacts with it with a keyboard. It's a special wearable keyboard, but it's still a keyboard. And it gives him everything a computer can. He can send, he gets apps, he can send emails, he can view the web, he can run any Linux app, he can run GIMP on his fucking wearable if he wanted to, and he gets full command line access to drop down into the lowest levels of abstraction. If he wants to grep, if he wants to, do recursive file editing, if he wants to, do any low-level maintenance you could do on a normal computer. Let me merge, you asshole. I'm wearing a Google Glass. God damn it. You're being a dick has been recorded for all perpetuity. So his is a legit wearable computer. It's a computer on his face. It gives him everything he needs with a wearable computer. First one, disadvantage of the first one, the watch, is that it's no interactivity. It gives you nothing except its core functionality. No extensibility, no hidden powers, nothing. Like an app-based wearable, Google Glass, when you're not running an app, does absolutely nothing. This thing is just sitting on my face. I receive an odd notification, but apart from that, it does nothing except be easy to take pictures with. Disadvantage of a wearable computer like Thad Starner's wearable computer, again, it was a pain in the ass to learn. I mean, and on top of that, it's clunky. Like, he's using a text-based interface that requires his focus. He has to use a keyboard to enter stuff. It's a wearable keyboard, but it's still a keyboard. And the learning curve is astronomical. He's fluent in it, but he's using it for 30 years. It was at the beginning. It was he had to open his note-taking app before he used it in class. And he had to open his note-taking app before he actually, needed to take notes before he went to class. So those are the disadvantages of it. Personally, I feel as though it's very important to have access to all of those. The wearables that I built. The most recent one that I built that this Google Glass is superseded was Android based. It was just an Android phone attached to my face effectively, and the widgets served as the dashboard, and I had apps. Wearable computer mode, like you could say that Android is sophisticated enough that it can sort of operate as a wearable computer, but I had really hoped that Ubuntu project to allow Android phones to dual boot into Ubuntu. I wish that came to fruition because that would have brought the trifecta home. Google, in a way, Google Glass is very limited. You can bash, there are ways to bash in some functionality. If you want to root it, you get access to more. But, You know, I really don't want to void the warranty on a piece. I wouldn't want to void the warranty on any beta hardware, especially not beta hardware that has, you know, it cost me $1,700. Who the hell puts a warranty, you know, and allows you to void a warranty on beta hardware? I mean, beta hardware should be considered to have a voided warranty anyways. I mean, you shouldn't actually expect that shit to work. Oh, I have to bleep that out now. So when you're designing a wearable, you have to think about these various use cases. There has to be a reason for the person to keep it on all the time. It has to give them the ability to invoke functionality, and you have to give the person very powerful, clunky, high-level or low-level access when they need it, because it's a wearable. That thing is with them in every situation they're in the tightest spots, the most stressful situations, in the most, you know, the hardest circumstances. I can't think of the right word. It's going to be there with them. Your wearable cannot let the user down. It's like when a person says, "Legs don't fail me now." If you get all of these, if you unite this trifecta, you create a wearable. You create an extension of the person's body. The person will integrate it into themselves. It will replace parts of their technology. It will replace parts of their senses. It'll become part of them. They will integrate with the technology. It'll be very hard to reach that if you're not hitting all these three. So some things blur, some uses blur the lines. The number one is notifications. Notifications are not, I guess you could call it a sort of a dashboard use, because they're there and they're not invoked by the user. I'm divided on notifications. Google Glass doesn't have very robust support for notifications, so I can't really judge it accurately. I love running yellow lights. I can't really judge it accurately because it's not very robust. It links with your email address, but I don't really use my Gmail address that it's linked to, so I only get text notifications, and even then it doesn't seem to give me many of them. I'm not sure. I don't get it yet. But even then, like, notifications are kind of disruptive. The number one thing a wearable can do with notifications is give you a synopsis, especially one with icons. If you have this synopsis, then you can decide whether it merits your attention. Having your phone vibrate is, in a way, it's addicting because you get a random reward. You can look that up. I'm not going to explain that right now, but when you give people long story short, give people a random reward for doing something, and they'll do it a lot. They'll become addicted to it. It can remove that addiction and kind of free you from those notifications. On the other hand, it's disruptive. Sometimes you don't want a notification popping up, and there's no way there's no piece of technology could have that kind of finesse. I mean, not even you if it was a person, if you had a secretary and you were describing it when you wanted it to notify you, it would be impossible. There's too many contingencies. So I don't know. I'm divided on it. Which of it falls into? I'd say it's closest to a dashboard. It's not functionality that's invoked. It's functionality that's always there. Perhaps a way to do a notification with finesse is to remove the real-time aspect of it and to make it part of a notification. For instance, make a part of your viewport, make a part of your viewport always be, like the last 5 notifications you got. That way your brain will get used to, your eye will look, you look around here, you'll look at the speed, you'll look and see if there's notification. That would be a good way to do it, kind of dashboardify it. That would also remove the need for, it would also remove the need to have a chime, an audio notification of some kind. I kind of like doing that. It's hard to do notifications with finesse. There's no bones about it. People are very good at integrating. I mean, the human brain is very good at integrating kind of new sources of information, especially ones in the same place. I mean, I took off my glass after wearing the thing to death yesterday, and I caught myself flicking my head up to check the time. And we're talking like maybe 4 hours of use. And I was already getting used to that. I think people get used to looking at a specific place to check the notifications. Other uses, digressions, I know. Other uses, augmented reality. Augmented reality, this isn't the time to get into the nitty-gritty, but augmented reality is not possible unless you're using Steve Mann's hardware. Steve Mann's hardware, you can look that up, it's called iTap, one word, is the only piece of hardware capable of doing true augmented reality with registration. I'm going to pretend, for the sake of argument, that everyone, that all wearables have this. Augmented reality is not, it's not an app, it's not a use case, it's not a philosophy. Move, come on, I gotta fucking park. It's not any of these, it's just a user interface convention. No, it's, you can have an augmented reality dashboard, you can have an augmented reality app. I suppose if you're really awesome, you can have an augmented reality, like wearable computer. But no, it's not any of these. All right, I gotta stop talking so I can give the guy my keys. I guess I'm gonna fast forward this part.
Dude, they're not on the market yet, right?
Huh?
Glasses, they're not on the market yet.
No, not really. Yeah, I just got it yesterday.
How did you manage to do that?
I had a friend invite me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've been trying to get one for the last year. I developed for it.
Any idea how much they're running?
Where should I? Oh, all right. They write stop on the asphalt. They put a sign that says pull up to here. Everyone's looking at me funny. I don't even think it's because I'm wearing Google Glass. I think it's because I'm talking to myself. I'm not gonna fit my cart in there. No friggin' way. Oh, but I don't run out of memory. Does a lot close?
What time is it?
Latest midnight.
SKS 54N.
Hmm?
Number. Yeah,